Hi, this is Professor Brian Gordon from Exam Success, and I'm going to give you a quick tutorial on how to use your calculator. I'm using the Texas Instruments BA2 Plus, but any financial calculator pretty much will have the same buttons on it with slight variation. Anyway, using this calculator, we'll turn it on, and you'll notice that it's set to 2 decimal places. So I think you're going to want to increase the number of decimals. So what you're going to do is use this key down here called format. So we'll do second function, and then we will hit format. It tells us that there's 2 decimals. I like to change this to 9 decimals. So I'll type in number 9 and I'll hit enter. And now the calculator is set to 9 decimals. So what does that mean? It means that there's nothing going to be shown here after the 0. It's a regular calculator. 55 divided by 66. It's going to show me all of the decimals. Okay? Some people like to set their calculator to 4 decimals or 5 decimals. It's personal preference. I just didn't like seeing all the zeros. So what I would recommend is set it to 9 decimals. That way it functions like, as I said, a normal calculator where you don't see all of the decimals to the right, all the zeros to the right of the decimal. So that's the first item, setting up the formatting of your calculator. The next item that I want to talk about is the memory. So any of these buttons, 0 to 9, can be used as memory storage. The button right here, STO, this is for storage. So as an example, if we had the number, let's say 55, and we wanted to store this in the calculator, then what we would do is type in 55, push STO, and then let's store it in number 1. So now if I clear this calculator and I want to get that number 55 back, I'll push RCL. This is recall number 1, and there it is. It brought back the number 55. So you can store this in any memory in any of these 0 to 9. They're all memories, and it comes in handy if you're doing calculations and you've got to do multiple calculations. So you got to save numbers instead of writing them down. And even if you turn the calculator off and then turn it back on, recall number 1, it's still saved in that memory registry. So it's a pretty handy feature. Okay, so that's a feature that you should be aware of. The next feature is this button Y to the exponent X. And this is going to be your button that you're going to use when you are handling exponents. So if we had something along the lines of, let's say, 1.05 to the exponent 4. So how would we handle this in our calculator? Well, we're going to use this Y to the X button. Okay, so the Y to the exponent X button. And let's enter this now. So I'll type in 1.05. I'll push the Y to the X button. Then I'll push 4. Then I'll hit equals. And of course, I didn't do it correct. Let's do it again. 1.05. Hit the Y to the X button. Hit the 4 and hit equals. There it is. All right, so it has given me the answer, 1.2155. You'll probably use this when you are doing things like discounting. So for example, if I had a $100 payment that I needed to discount at 5%, and I needed to bring it back for 4 years. So how would I enter this into the calculator? Well, to enter this in the calculator, we're going to, again, use this Y to the X button. So we'll go through the routine again. 1.05, Y to the X, 4, hit equals. Now what we're going to do is store this. So remember that button, STO. So let's store that in number 1. So it's in there. Let's clear this off. Okay, I'll recall it just to show you. There it is. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 100 divided by what we just calculated. So 100 divided by, and let's recall number 1, And there it is. I now have my answer for this question. $822.27. I guess if we're talking about $100 face value bond. So basic time value of money, knowing how to use the exponent button. I think this is critical so that you know how to use that button. Okay, so let's clear this off and let's look at one more example. What if we had something like 100 divided by 1.05, and this was to the exponent 180 divided by 365. So now how are we going to do this on our calculator? Okay, well, let's clear our calculator. The first item that I would do to calculate this is I would calculate what is this exponent. That's the first thing that I would do. And again, I will save that into a memory. Then the second item that I'm going to do is to calculate this entire denominator. That's step 2. And then step 3 finally is I will calculate the present value of that $100 payment. So let's do these steps one by one. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is 180 divided by 365. And I'm going to store that in number 1. Okay, so there it is. Now, let's do this step 2. Let's calculate this entire denominator. 1.05 y to the x. Oh, I got an extra 5 in there. Let's clear that off. 1.05 y to the x, and let's recall the memory and hit equals. So now we've done this entire bottom part. I'm now going to save this. I'm going to store that in number 1. And now let's do step 3. 100 divided by, and let's recall what we stored in the memory. And there it is. I now have my answer. And the solution here is 9762. So we now know how to use some critical buttons on our calculator. Just to remind us, the store button, that is for storing anything into memory. Recalling those memories using the RCL button. The exponent button, the y to the exponent x, very handy. I think that you've got to be familiar with this. Okay, now the next items are the calculating using the time value of money buttons. So let's highlight these on our calculator. Now I'm talking about this row of buttons right here. We've got N, which is the number of payments. We have IY, which is the interest rate or the discounting rate. PV, which will be the present value. PMT, which is the payments. And FV, which is the face value or future value. So these are our time value of money buttons, TVM. And when I have a problem such as a bond that pays interest, let's say the bond has a maturity of 10 years, 10 years. And it has a $60 coupon. And the yield on this bond is 8%. And the face value is $1,000. So with all of this information, we're going to use these time value of money buttons to be able to come up with the price of this bond. The price, or this is also referred to as the present value of the cash flows. So one other piece of information, bonds generally pay their coupons on a semi-annual basis, SA. So now that we know this, there's a couple of items that we have to be aware of on our calculator. So let's clear this off so that we can make sure that we know what we're looking at. This IY button, let's clear everything off here. Sometimes this IY button comes set at multiple payments per year. Let's check this. Push the second function and IY. Okay, so our calculator is set to 1 payment per year. If you want to change that, I think you're getting into dangerous, territory. Leave it at 1 payment per year, and then come over to our numbers, and we will make adjustments over here. This is what I would recommend that you do to handle these questions. Okay, but if your calculator was set, let's say it was set to 12 payments per year. So let's say you came along, you typed in this, 12 payments per year. It was set to monthly. Well, let's set that back to 1. I'll just push 1 and then enter. And now it says payments per year equal to 1. All right, so now this is set up. Let's come back over to our data from our bond and make the adjustments. Okay, so we don't need this on our screen anymore. So the adjustments that I would make would be, because this is semi-annual, well, we have 2 payments per year, so there's going to be 20 payments. This is going to be our value for N. The coupon of $60, that's annual. Let's divide this by 2. So we will have a $30 coupon per period. And the discounting rate, this is an annual rate. Let's divide this by 2. So we will have a 4% annual or 4% semi-annual discounting rate. And the future value, well, that will stay at 1,000. So let's enter these values into the calculator. So now it doesn't matter what order I enter these in, so they will all go in. So you do the number first. So let's do 20 periods and then push N, and you'll see that the equal sign has come up. This is now in the calculator. Let's do a $30 coupon payment, 30, and push payment. $1,000 future value, that's in the calculator. And the discount rate of 4%, you put that in as a whole number. Do not put it in as a decimal, 4. Just put it in there. And now we'll push this compute button, compute PV, and there it is. It tells us that the price of this bond, or the present value of the cash flows, it writes down negative $864 and well, we'll say 9 cents or 0.96 cents. This negative sign here, you can ignore this. This is just your calculator telling you inflows and outflows. You have to pay $864.09 to buy this bond. That's what it's telling us. Okay, so I think this is a pretty good summary to get you going on how to use this calculator. And I think that's probably all you're going to really need for your exam. I wouldn't get into using any of the statistics or bond. I don't think you're going to get any payoff on the exam for that. So this gets you going, and I hope this helps you with your time value of money questions. All right, well, thanks for participating, and happy